This episode of The Casual is brought to you in part by Squarespace. For all your website needs, Squarespace delivers it in an all-around package to help you build a beautiful, integrated online presence.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Reggie Casual, and welcome to Unscripted, where we talk about the overall fashion industry, trends, styles, and questions from you, yes, you, and give our take on it, because it is a team effort. Today's discussion: which modern generation is the most influential in modern fashion? We're breaking it down between Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z, as it were. But before we get into the topic, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to see more videos like these. And with that being said, let us get it. All right, so we're going to start with Gen X because obviously born between 1965 and 1979, which, by the way, damn. But still love you, but you up there. Gen Xers are often described as the originators of massive international modern trends. And while genres of music like grunge, post-punk, hip-hop, and 90s pop played a massive role in informing their fashion choices, most Gen Xers could be described as the most authentic generation in fashion, as they wore what most represented the local culture or subcultures that they subscribed to. And because of that, they, without a shadow of a doubt, established most of the styles we have flipped, reworked, and done again. Even today, many Gen Xers are highly protective of what they started and see the culture of what they cultivated diluted due to social and mass media today. And everybody just screams, "You just being an old head." That's who you're really talking to. Hip hop styles grew largely out of New York with Gen X, and grunge and skate grew out of the Western United States. Post-punk and alternative styles grew out of the UK and other parts of Europe. And Japan was reworking all of that during the X revolution. But again, it was mostly culture driven. People were about it. It wasn't about fashion per se, and more about community and identity. And with famous names like Wu-Tang, Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., Kurt Cobain, that is, Green Day, Jay-Z, Pharrell, Kanye, and Nigo under their belt, it's hard to argue the influence that Gen X has had on fashion just from a mainstream point of view. But we do have Millennials born between 1980 to 1996, and that's the generation that I'm a part of. We're like the in-betweeners, and for the most part, Millennials followed Gen Xers stylistically verbatim. The celebs, entertainers, and notable individuals were roughly the same as Gen X, unless you're counting the latter half, which is a little bit different. The biggest difference between Millennials and Gen X, however, was further access due to the advent of the internet, obviously. This meant fashion became increasingly less about local culture and more about being in style. However, many Millennials still share the same sentiments as Gen Xers. That is, if you're gonna wear it, at least know about it to some extent and be about it, right? However, that backfired tremendously as more Millennials began to catalog and share fashion. A cool factor kind of seeped in for people who weren't really about it but wanted to be cool. This eventually led to what we now know as hype, with brands that were formerly counterculture becoming powerhouses. You think Stussy, Supreme, and Bape. They became huge, but it was during these years it was the most lucrative and exciting to start so-called streetwear brands. That's where streetwear just grew up with Millennials, like Staple, The Hundreds, A-Life, Mastermind Japan, and yes, even Black Scale. The genre of streetwear was in full bloom under the Millennial generation. Unless we forget that hip-hop played a huge role in making that happen. Hip-hop / urban brands, urban with classic skatewear, made streetwear as we know it more popular than ever. And again, this was a prelude to hype and the ever-growing interest in fashion. Internet-savvy late Millennials or cusp Gen Xers cataloged all of this. Individuals like Kevin Ma, the CEO and founder of Hypebeast.com, and designers like Rick Owens, Yohji Yamamoto, Margiela, and Rei Kawakubo, and a host of underground European and Japanese designers became well-known and documented by a whole slew of fans. Without the millennial efforts of cataloging, blogging, and sharing fashion, we would not even be where we are today. Hands down, millennials are the most responsible for making fashion a global phenomenon. That is not up for debate. That's just a true statement. You know it. From street to designer, it is just true. Without them, fashion would still be extremely gay-kept, and I, for one, would be out of a damn job. Seriously. Now, we got more. We got Gen Z coming up. But before that, let's get into a word of our sponsor for this episode, Squarespace.
A big part of fashion is community, and building a fashion brand or any business requires a strong one. That's why using Squarespace for your new website might be the way to go. Besides being packed with great website templates, built-in SEO and analytics, Squarespace's new members areas make it easy to create, foster, and grow a community of true fans. Give back by giving members exclusive content, discounts, and much more, all while monetizing your business. So use our code squarespace.com/thecasual to save 10% off of your first website, and let Squarespace help you build your brand, business, and community.
All right, finally, Gen Z, born between 1997 and 2010, roughly. The digital generation, the first in history to have information access instantly, and use that instant access to make 60-second videos or less about whatever the hell is trending. But I don't blame you for engaging with it. I blame my generation for it, because we are largely responsible for what you're going through. So sorry, but I digress. For all intents and purposes, Gen Z is the most progressive fashion generation of all time. Not even joking. They are knowledgeable of every single trend, movement, and style, and are more likely to switch from movement to movement at the drop of a dime. And they are far more accepting of what was previously viewed as taboo, which is an extension of their views on gender identity, which is an important point for them, for a lot of them, especially in fashion. And the help they have in achieving fashionable status is far more extensive than even millennials. If you want to dress like your favorite rapper, your favorite YouTuber probably has a video for that. You want to do some workwear? Your favorite TikToker has you covered, or some guy named Keezy. You want to make some Japanese brand incredibly popular, even though it's cool, but you kind of overrating it? Have a prominent content creator make it hot and co-sign him and want to live vicariously through that dude. Gen Z basically has a fast track to looking cool. They've gone retro, classic, formal, emo, grunge, athleisure, gorp, tech, genderless, and more. Their palette for all types of fashion is endless. It's kind of crazy. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. While many previous generations may complain about this lack of consistency and identity in fashion, Gen Z's response is usually, you don't need to know the history or culture to enjoy fashion, dude, because the average person just wants to know how to look cool. Except for the fact that many of the people that you guys follow, that Gen Z follows, these people kind of know the history, kind of know the nuances of fashion. You wouldn't follow them if they didn't. They kind of know these intricacies that you say you don't need to know. But that's another discussion entirely. Anyway, Gen Z is still going, so time will only tell what they land on, but hype culture has metastasized to unhealthy levels during their generation. And relevancy has become more important than identity for sure, but the sheer acceptance of every style gives Gen Z a glimmer of hope, as they truly could be the most daring fashion generation of all time. And now for my pick. Now you heard me, I'm a millennial. Our contributions to cataloging and sharing fashion gave our own generation and the generation after, Gen Z, all the tools to make fashion what it is today. We killed it, hands down. Without us, the idea of what's cool or simply worth knowing in fashion would not exist. That's us. We did that, which is why my pick goes to Gen X. Yeah, you heard that right. I had you in the first half. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie about it. It's obviously Gen X, right? Thing is, millennials absolutely love Gen Xers. We love everything they did and still do. They created the movements we researched and the cultures that we still follow. We try to be like them in everything. Without their emphasis on culture, cool in fashion as a construct doesn't exist. And they weren't even trying in most cases. They were just doing what they were, which is the reason why we love them so much, because they just did it. And this isn't a knock on Gen Z, because you could be the best, but you got a lot of hurdles to overcome, the least of which is the speed at which you switch it up. You never really give yourselves time to savor and enjoy something before moving on to the next hot thing, especially in fashion. But you have a chance to kill it due to your acceptance of nearly everything. Don't lose sight of that. That defines you. And perhaps if you really dig into it, you could be the best of all time. But today, at this point in history, my hat goes, I ain't taking it off, but it goes to Gen X, because you deserve this one, right? Now get some rest. You can shake that wrinkly fist. I'm just joking. Not like that old, but that's my take. What is yours? Like, which generation? I'm joking about the old thing, okay? You guys, I love you guys. Which generation do you believe has the most influence on modern fashion? Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z? Put it all in the comments. And if you want an overtime episode of topics just like this, join us on Patreon and continue the convo on our private Discord. Put comments up there. And if you're building a brand, you can also join our Patreon at higher tiers to gain access to our monthly fashion brand building webinar, where I teach you all of the nuances of starting your own fashion brand. If you're into it, a lot of information there. We have a whole curriculum. It's really dope. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info in international fashion culture and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And I will see you guys in a minute.